I'm joined today by some of the folks who are working in the learning studios, and these are folks who recognize the importance of all of the STEM combination that we've been talking about today. So do you all want to come on up? What we want to have today is a discussion with all of you. So you've been hearing about STEM at the big level, and now you're going to really get a glimpse of what it looks like in a school, in the classroom, and how it makes a difference in those districts. So I'm joined today by a school district administrator, a high school teacher, and an aerospace engineer. And when I first wrote this, I thought it kind of sounded like I was going to tell a terrible joke, but there's no joke here. These are incredibly hardworking folks who are doing what they are doing to make a difference for the kids in the communities where they work and live. And they're doing this in the NCTAF STEM Learning Studios. Our first panelist on the far end is Allan Costrick. Allan is a computer science teacher at Hammond High School in Howard County. Allan has been a teacher at Hammond since 2006, and he's been a member of Hammond's Learning Studio team for 4 of those 6 years. He's also a mentor for the first robotics team at Hammond, coach of the computer programming team, and he runs the school website. And on a NCTAF note, I will mention that Allan also starred with Tom Carroll in an Alliance for Excellent Education webinar at the end of September talking about learning studios. So he's a resident celebrity at this point. Allan will be followed by Mike Doellefeld. Mike is the Director of Aviation and Regulatory Affairs for the Boeing Company. And Mike has been with Boeing for more than 27 years, and his responsibilities have included being the chief engineer on Boeing's newest 747 and 787 airplane program. In 2011, Mike relocated to the Washington, D.C. area to serve as Boeing's Director of Aviation and Regulatory Affairs, where he is responsible for providing Boeing commercial airplanes technical and strategic support to government operations and various industry, trade, and air transport organizations. We're glad he came to this area because it has allowed him to become an integral part of the Learning Studios teams in Anne Arundel County. And providing us the district leadership perspective is Duane Arbogast. Duane is the Chief Academic Officer and Acting Deputy Superintendent for Academics in Prince George's County Public Schools. It's the 16th largest school district in this nation. Duane has served as an elementary teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, and a central office administrator, and he was named by the Washington Post as the Washington Post Distinguished Leader in 2004. And his school was also named the School of the Year by Exceptional Children magazine. He is a great cheerleader for NCTAF's Learning Studios and has been instrumental in growing the studios across Prince George's County. So I'm really pleased that they're all here, and I hope that you'll, again, be thinking of questions that you want to ask. I think we're going to ask them at the end so we can make sure to hear from everybody today. But Laura continues to be looking for the tweeted questions too, so go ahead and join us that way as well. So, Allan, would you come on up?
Good morning.
Good morning, Allan.
Quick little survey before I get started. How many people in here are teachers or former teachers? If you could raise your hand. So, wow, that's fantastic. And as I've been sitting here, I've pretty much realized this is probably a room full of a lot of colleagues of mine. So even though you might have moved on to bigger things and bigger names in your career, obviously you're here because you're passionate about education, and for that I really appreciate you guys being here. So thank you. And another thing I wanted to mention real quick, and I work for Howard County Schools. I don't work for Lego, but Laura saw me perk up when she mentioned the Lego Mindstorms. And coming up around the bend here, I know it's kind of early, but Christmas is coming up. So if you have any children, grandchildren, nieces or nephews, and you're looking for a Christmas gift, the Lego kits are just amazing. And we use the heck out of them in Howard County, and a lot of counties do. And the learning opportunities to have these students be able to create something, build it with their hands, see the manipulations that take place there. Just a really great learning opportunity. So she saw me perk up with that. We have a professional network called EdWeb, and we like to share a lot of our collaboration with the NCTAF team, with our STEM team, with other counties, and what the teachers are doing in those counties. And I wanted to speak on behalf of all teachers and not just myself and what we're doing at Hammond High School. So I posed a question in the NCTAF conference on EdWeb, and I asked for some quotes on the influence of STEM professionals in our schools and for our students. And I just wanted to read to you a few of the quotes that came my way and share some of the things that the teachers out there felt about the STEM professionals and the influence that they've had. Students are excited by the technology made available by STEM professionals visiting their classroom. STEM professionals' support and willingness to be a collaborative participant in the educational experience has truly helped the students to realize the importance of science, technology, engineering, and math. STEM professionals can bring authentic work experiences and activities to our students, making their lessons more meaningful. Sometimes I like to consider us as teachers as one step below the parents. We can tell them a lot, we can feed them a lot of information, but they don't look at us in the same aspect that they will their STEM professionals. We handle classroom management, we handle content, we handle a broad range of topics. So when there's a chance for them to get any type of interaction with a STEM professional, it really goes a long way. And it really is that connection that they need between what we're teaching, which is the curriculum, and what they actually can experience in the real world. So we have STEM professionals that will be, they'll bring in artifacts, they'll bring in technology that they work with. They'll share some of their work and their projects. And as this mentorship grows and it builds throughout the years, the students really get a great perspective on what's out there. And we also start to teach our students to develop these contacts. So they're starting to network and learn about their interests, and if these companies have internship opportunities or research programs that our students can get involved in as they go forward. So what I have witnessed with the STEM professionals that we work with, which are some of the great scientists from NASA Goddard, the student engagement has really increased, especially when they get to actually touch, work with the tools and some of these scientific devices that we don't have really access to as teachers. The students are able to begin really connecting their curriculum to the outside world, outside situations. And it's a great change of pace for all that are involved. The professionals, that they get to come out and do something different that day, and the students are really excited to have a different learning opportunity be presented to them. I just want to end with some perspective from our students, and this was a quote that I asked from my class, and they came up with: communication with STEM professionals allows us to share our projects. We get to teach others about what we are researching ourselves, and we get to learn from professionals and share our experiences. So really, they are excited to share with you what they have come up with. They're really excited, and they really get geared up those days to interact with professionals that are out in the field. And to be honest with you, unless they really have had a job, sometimes this may be the first actual adult interaction outside of their parents or their teachers, where they're actually communicating with somebody on a professional manner. So it's a really, really great experience for them to be able to handle this. And they will step up, and they will get excited about it, and they will come through. And Steve's opening remarks, and it's great to have a teacher be so honest, and you've been in my shoes before, and I felt the same way as, geez, these freshman, sophomore class, what are they going to do today if I'm having a guest come in? And we ask the professionals do not have to come in and stand in front of the room and teach the class. They can come in and work in groups, facilitate the lessons, work with us one-on-one, work in small groups, and really facilitate. They don't have to be in front of the room and presenting a lesson that day. They can just be there to share their experiences, and that really goes a long way for the students. It's a different world right now. The students are so connected. We're not drill and kill. They can look up all the facts on Google instantly. So we're trying to teach them how to use these tools, how to speak, how to present to professionals, how to interact in a group, how to really use everything that they've gathered throughout their school career, their education, and actually put it together in a professional manner. And they do a great job. They step up, they get excited about it, and the relationship will grow for both the STEM field, the STEM professionals, the students, and the teachers. So thank you.
Good morning. I'm very encouraged to be here this morning and to hear the conversation. It's heartwarming, and it is our future. I'm Mike Doellefeld with the Boeing company. Just proud to be here, proud of the company, and proud to be involved with each of you. At Boeing, I am an engineer, and I am also, I'll consider myself a teacher. Part of the engineering field is a process, and it's educating. It's figuring out the context of what's going on and trying to take it to the next level by applying the toolbox of science and technology, math, and those principles. So as we look at our students and our future leaders, it's an honor to be with you and to be able to shape them alongside each of you. As I grew up, my story cut short, learned to never say never. There were two things I said never to as a young child. First of all, I said I'd never get a higher education than high school. In fact, I tried to drop out of high school. I also said to my father, I will never work where you work, and that was Boeing. And I am so proud that I swallowed those words hard and have been humbled. Really, in high school, I was able to get certified as a Volkswagen, Porsche, Audi mechanic as a junior in high school. And a number of years ago, I was earning $10, $12 an hour as a junior in high school. And it was wonderful. I knew that's exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I came to work one day and I told my boss, I said, hey, instead of working 20 hours after school, let me just drop out of school and come work for 40 hours or 60 hours, whatever you need. I would love that. He said, great. The day you do that will be your last day you work here. And he had a vision for mentoring. He saw the potential, and he was the one that encouraged me, stay in high school, finish it. It'll serve you well. I remember that conversation. I did that. Got out of high school, and I went to work and earned more money. And he began saying, hey, do you really understand combustion? Do you understand why? You seem to have a head. And he was one that encouraged me to pursue engineering. Interesting enough, he was a Boeing employee that quit the company because he was tired of the bureaucracy of Boeing, and he started his own business. So he had a Boeing connection. So after engineering, he encouraged me to go further. He said, you know, this automotive industry is open wide, and so is the field of engineering. So he planted a number of seeds with me, and you know, I did interview with Daimler-Benz. I did want to work in the automotive industry. But Boeing somehow found me and invited me to an interview 3 times. The third time I went. And I was so encouraged with Boeing's philosophy of the wide open landscape that I took my degree and I applied it there. And Boeing is a wonderful company that builds tremendous products and serves our nation and our country and our world well. And we are committed deeply to STEM, deeply to advancing our students and our next generation of leaders. Coming into the Design Learning Studio, my role was to bring the outside perspective as a scientist or an engineer to the table. And what a wonderful role to come and to sit with teachers. I've been involved with T.C. Williams in the Virginia district and here in Lindell with some middle school activity. And to sit and to listen to where are we going as educators, where are the struggles. And I found one of my most effective things to do was to help find the ability to take it to the greater perspective and help connect the dots. For example, one group of students, 8th graders, working on air quality around Baltimore International. You know, where the students live, right in our backyard. There's a big machine of transportation called an airport with aircraft that make noise, that make pollutants, and so forth. So as the students set up their experiment, what I heard was we're gathering a lot of data, and I didn't hear anything about, well, once you have this pile of data, what are you going to do with it? What's it going to look like? How are you going to sift through it? And more importantly, draw conclusions. The data ought to tell you something about what's going on around you, what you want to do to try to influence it in a direction, and so forth. So helping the teachers think about those questions was a good role for me to say, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to graph it? How are you going to apply the simple toolbox that 8th graders or 7th graders or that stature of students can deal with, and take it to the next level, saying, aha, here's what it means, and now I understand, and perhaps I can influence. Boeing is committed to STEM. We look at, of the 4 million students that enter kindergarten each year, less than 2% of them go on to higher education. And a number of them don't even finish high school. So it's important for us to infuse that and to help move the dot in the direction that ensures that our pipeline of technically savvy and students that are interested in this field is a growing field, and one that companies like Boeing or any high-tech company that relies on that skill as a core competency is not only gleaning from, but is also contributing to and helping shape the future of. So as I come to this sort of a studio, that's the mission that I'm an ambassador for Boeing, but more importantly for us as educators, to really bring that perspective to the table and to help our students. Boeing's involved in other elements of STEM with science projects that deal with robots. We're involved in media where we have a Science for Kids show. We're involved in mentoring at all levels of elementary, technical college, university levels, and beyond. And for Boeing to continue advancing STEM here in Maryland, we recently granted a new 2-year grant of $94,000 to the Maryland district here that will help the teachers facilitate STEM and those styles of studios that advance the curriculum of creating technically competent people. It'll help you here in Anne Arundel as well as Prince George's counties. We're very proud of that and are honored to be part of your collaboration effort here. Another benefit that I just wanted to briefly mention in closing is besides the students, I see a real benefit of working with the teachers. For any job, no matter how exciting it is, how challenging it is, there are the days that you wonder, why am I banging my head against the wall? Am I making a difference? I feel stagnant. So as an outsider, as we collaborate and bring in these perspectives that you saw around the wheel, an important role is to be an encourager and to say you are focusing on the right thing even though you don't see it. Take my example of saying I would never be standing here talking about this sort of thing. That's untapped potential, that's blinded by immaturity, and for us that have the ability to look beyond those and to influence one another and our students is a tremendous benefit and a tremendous asset of this whole process. So I do thank the Boeing Company for allowing me to participate. I thank you as educators and affiliations of coming together in a forum like this to say, let's do more. Please do that. Raise the bar, set higher standards than you want, because you will be able to achieve and stretch to reach those. It's been proven. So I want to just thank you for my opportunity to be part of this great mission. Thank you.
Good morning. Duane Arbogast, Acting Deputy Superintendent for Academics, Prince George's County Public Schools. I don't know if we've been talking about STEM all morning, but I was kind of creeped out when I got up here on the panel because I looked at my colleagues on the panel, and don't they have a striking resemblance to Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia? So I was looking at the three of them, and I'm like, wow, this is, I'm like, so that must make me Yoda. So it's a little weird for me to be up here also because I'm not really what this is about. I'm going to talk about the district perspective, but we have a table of educators right here from Prince George's County, and these people are doing some amazing work. And I just want to say thank you to the teachers in this room. So what does the district do? Now, Justin asked a question to the earlier panel, and he asked about standards. And I'm probably the only person here who's not going to use the word STEM the rest of the morning in my conversation, because the first thing that districts have to do is we have to identify proficiencies. What do we want our kids to be able to do when they graduate from high school? And I'll come back to that in just a moment. The second thing we have to do is we have to adopt the standards. And then the third thing that we have to do is we have to create the space for innovation to happen. And I think that that's really, really important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how Tom and I initially interacted. So let's go to what are the proficiencies that we want from kids. So I have to think, this is my lens. I have to think, does this program work within these proficiencies? And I'm going to refer you to Tony Wagner's book on creating innovators. Have you guys read this? It's an easy read. You can read it in like about 2 hours. And Tony says, there's actually a way to create innovators. And he talks about, so what he did was he studied young innovators aged 21 to about 32. And here are their commonalities. Number one, they all engaged in creative play. And I'm going to let that sink for a minute, because we've heard about Mindstorms, we've heard about Legos, and these parents actually created space for their kids to play. Second thing, they have deep passion. They're hungry to learn. And the third thing, and this is really important, they all wanted to make a difference in the world. And I think that's very different than the generation from the 1980s. Remember, it was all about making money, Wall Street, do you remember all that stuff? That's not this generation. This generation wants to make the world better. So what are the proficiencies that I use when I'm looking for a program? Does it create critical thinkers? Does it create the skill of communication? Does it allow people to work in groups? This is an important one, and I'm not sure we're quite there yet. Does it allow you to work across cultures? How important is that? Because the Western culture is our dominant culture, right? That's kind of where our education is. But honestly, our children are going to be working from people from Singapore and Senegal and China and Taiwan and Uzbekistan. So if we can't work across cultures, that's really going to be a problem for our kids. The last two, kind of related, perseverance and comfortable with failure. This is America. We're not comfortable with failure, right? But honestly, you can't do Mike's work unless you fail 50 times before you finally figure out the correct wing pattern. Am I correct, Mike? I mean, failure is your game. And scientists, if I'm not mistaken, actually kind of appreciate failure. They're like, yeah, test, see what goes wrong, see what goes wrong. That's not how we're built in public schools. Oh my God, send a kid home with a D and you get like 16 parent phone calls that night, right? It's not what we're about, so we have to kind of change this culture. So those are the proficiencies that I'm using when I'm looking for a program. Okay, standards. Well, we have Common Core and we have next generation standards, and you know what? They do blend beautifully. It's about critical thinking. It's about building argument. It's about math practices. It's about real-world applications. But the last part, creating space. I want to talk about two different things. I want to talk about innovation. So Carlson on the West Coast, he's the CEO of a company, he talks about innovation top-down, bottom-up. Top-down innovation is controlled but stupid. Bottom-up innovation is smart but chaotic. Okay? So both have pluses and minuses. So what Carlson talks about is moving the equalizer bar closer to the bottom, but not all the way to the bottom. So who are our innovators in public schools? It's not deputy superintendents, I can tell you that. And it's not coordinators of math or science or STEM, it's teachers. Teachers are the innovators, and that's really where the work has to happen. Second thing, I'm sorry John left, because he and I were in our doctoral program together, and we read this book by John Kingdon. Write that guy's name down, John Kingdon. So Kingdon studied, this is funny, he studied the Bureau of Mines and the FAA. And he says, how does policy happen? That's how he studied. And he said there are three streams that are always flowing, but they rarely converge. The first stream is a policy stream. It's an idea stream. Learning Studios is an idea. It's a policy. The second stream is a political stream. the political forces have to come together. And right now, STEM is really, really hot. And the third stream is a problem stream. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We have high unemployment. We're not producing enough scientists to do the work that has to be done, and we're losing the innovative edge to the rest of the planet. And our economy is kind of struggling. So we have a problem stream, we have a politics stream, and now we have a policy. So what is my job, and what's Tom's job? Tom is developing policy, and I'm constantly looking for it. So when the moment hits, we grab it. And that's exactly what happened in Prince George's County. So Tom was running with 3 different districts with a NASA grant, and one of the districts had to drop out. So he calls me, and honestly, this is a true story, he didn't know this. I'm sitting in a Burger King. I was at a funeral, and I knew I had to call Tom, so I left the funeral, and I went to the Burger King so I could pull up my iPad. And we had this conversation. He's like, I had a district drop out. Is Prince George's interested? And I'm like, yes, because the politics and the policy and the problems all converged at that moment while I'm sitting at that table in Burger King, and Tom says, let's do it. But you know what? It was only for 1 year. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the money for this the next year. But then Race to the Top came from heaven, right? So we were able to do it for 4 more years. So that kind of worked out for us. So I think for those of you in the policy venue, in district leadership, what you have to do is you have to keep those policy streams constantly hot and on the shelf and ready to go. Because when the next grant comes, you got to be able to strike. That means you're constantly working your networks. You know, so Ted's here at the back of the room. So everybody in the room knows Ted because everybody's tried to hit up Northrop Grumman for something, right? And he's the kind of guy who tries to negotiate that. That's keeping that network going. So last thing I want to talk about is I actually want to talk about this process and why I think it's working. And I'm actually going to disagree with Jeff on a couple of points. Jeff talked about it being multidisciplinary. He and I are absolutely agree on that science teachers and mathematics teachers work together. That's cool. He said he didn't say, I'm going to paraphrase, he said we didn't come up with a structured program. We kind of let it emerge. I'm going to disagree slightly. NCTAF actually has a framework, and it's really a backward design framework based on essential questions, which I think is actually the best way to create learning modules. And what is an essential question? It's a question that's edgy, it's important, and it's relevant. Listen to these essential questions from Prince George's County. How do we make solar energy more efficient? How does the efficiency of incandescent bulbs compare with CFL bulbs? I love this one. How do we create tools to address Alzheimer's disease? Passion, play, and we make a difference. Do you see how important that is? And that's what NCTAF brought. So that framework was really, really important. So now we have access to scientists. So what do scientists do? And this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say today. We have teacher evaluation frameworks. And we've built these frameworks around what we think are best practices about teaching. But these frameworks are content agnostic. But Mike's work is content specific. He's an engineer. There's a way engineers approach a problem that might be different than the way a dentist might approach a problem or the way an artist might approach a problem. That is content expertise, and that's what NCTAF brings to us. It brings us these scientists who teach us about the thinking moves in the content, and the thinking moves in his field become the teaching moves in our field. Do you see how important that is? And no teacher framework really gets to the point of teacher moves. Now, what is a teacher move? It is asking the right question at the right moment to the right kid. Mike doesn't even think about teacher moves because that's his game. He's just like, this is how we do things. Allan thinks a lot about his teacher moves. He's trying to think, is this the right question at the right time? But when you have a content scientist, expert, helping the teacher say, this is how we make sense of the work, that becomes our teacher moves. No teacher evaluation system can capture that. No principal can observe for it. It's the work, it's the innovation of the moment. It's among teachers, with teachers. And that's the beauty of this program. So, just to kind of summarize, what does the district do? We have this broad goal, we look for opportunity, and we create space for the real experts to do the real work. Thank you.